What's up, YouTube world, YouTube family? It's Young and Beating Down the Block. Today video, we're gonna be talking about how to strap your amps. Now, before I got up out here in this hot ass weather, I was gonna take you guys through and do it with you bit by bit, but I'm gonna just show you the setup and just explain it to you the best way I can. All right, so right here, we got two bass amps, two monoblock amps. For this whole setup, don't mind this, don't mind this. You will need a distributor block because you're gonna need two sources of power. This is 0 gauge and the two 4 gauges. You're gonna need two grounds, you're gonna need two wires. You're gonna need your initial ground, you're gonna need your initial power, right? Now, when you hook up the amp, ground remote power, all you're worried about is this amp and this amp, right? You got a slave and a master switch on it, on the side. See it say slave and master? You got a slave and a master switch, right? This is my master, that's my slave. When you put this together, one other thing you need is like a 6-foot RCA. A single or a double, doesn't matter. But that's what you'll need. So you'll need your distributor block. You'll need two power, two ground, RCA, extra 8 gauge wire, right? Oh, damn, here go my thing right here. I've been looking for that. So, when you put it in a slave and master, your slave amp is nothing but negative. Remember, don't forget the wires. Your slave amp always going to be negative. Remember this, negative, positive. This doesn't matter right now. Don't pay attention to the negative and the positive terminals on the amp. The amp itself is negative, positive, right? So what you do is, when you get your layout done, how you want your layout done, and you put your master amp in master, you put your slave amp in slave, you have your RCA Tiffany style, you hook up your one, that's your feedback. You're just giving it a signal. You're giving this amp a signal. Everything is coming off of the master. All your gains, your frequencies, your subsonic, all that, your bass booster, all that is set from here. Nothing is touched out of your slave amp, out of your negative amp, nothing. You turn everything down, everything. This amp don't matter, right? But it does matter. So when you hook them up, slave, master switches, hit the switch. Make sure you pay attention to this because I didn't pay attention. So on your amp, you have speaker A, speaker B. All right? From speaker A of the negative, you are just going to take straight, which is this one that goes up under the board. You're going to take this straight negative A to this straight, to this negative A. You take it straight there, right here. They're backwards, so this one is over here. You take this negative B to this negative B. This one right here, right? That's the first thing you do. Once you hook up your power, your remote, and your ground, the next thing you do is you get you a long enough two ground cords, 4 gauge, and you just negative, both of the negatives to both of the negatives. But make sure they're on the same speaker, same channel, right? Now, you have another negative left, and you have another negative left. But honestly, this on the amp is going to be positive and positive. But when you put these amps in slave master, you put the amp in the full 180. So that's why this turns this into negative and this turns this into positive. So this whole amp is negative. So you take your negative, your other one, because you got two of them hooked up into this amp. You take your negative, and then that goes to one speaker. You take your other negative, that goes to the other speaker. All this is negative, you guys. Never forget that. On the slave, this is always negative. Negative to negative. Negative to negative. Negative to negative. Negative to negative. Negative, both negatives to both negatives. One negative, negative. One negative, negative. Over here, you got two powers. On the same channel, you hook this negative up, A, to this positive, A, to this speaker. You hook up this negative, B, to this positive, B. You have to do this. If you put speaker, if you put the slave and this is speaker A and you hook it up to speaker B, it's not going to play. It has to be on the same channel, the same speaker. 9 times out of 10, you're always going to get two inputs when you get your slave and master options. Even on the thing, on the 2500s, the 3500s, and the 4500s, it has two Tiffany styles. The 16 and the 12 only have one. The 12 and the 16, you can do them together. The 24, the 34, and the 5, you can only do together. But that's what you guys have to do. And then you hit that switch, and then everything should play. The maximum impedance that you can go when your amps are slaved and mastered is only 2 ohms. So the best thing to do is get two dual 2 ohm voice coil woofers, put them in parallel, in series, which means your negative to your positive, negative to positive, and then you got your negative and your positive right here. Do not negative to negative, positive to positive. Do not. It's negative to positive. Negative comes out, positive comes out. Positive, negative. You need to make sure, if that's what you're going to do, you got to make sure that your subwoofers are going to match up to what you want done right here. Right? That's it. You run your RCAs, your one set of RCAs just to this amp. The only RCA that goes to this amp is for this one, and that's only for a signal. There's no RCAs back there, y'all. There's no RCAs right here. Only RCA is this one, and it goes right here. This is the only one that has RCAs. I only have my gain set on here. I don't mess with the LPF, and I don't mess with the subsonic. This one is turned up a little bit more than halfway. Again, you guys, when you do this, negative amp, positive amp. Negative speaker A, negative speaker A, negative speaker B, negative speaker B. Positive out of this one is still negative. You hook that up to one speaker, hook that up to the other speaker. This one gets hooked up to the same speaker as this one, and this one gets hooked up to the same speaker as this one. Make sure that everything is together. Don't put this one over there and then that one. Don't have it looking like an X. It needs to go diagonally, vertically, straight across. A to A, B to B, 1 to 1, 2 to 2. Do not hook up 2 to 1. Do not hook up A to B. Do not do that. Make sure everything is together. After that, like I said, you can set everything from the master amp, and it's going to send your main signal throughout the whole car. The slave amp does nothing for you except for produce the power. Like with my amps, these Legion Audios, when they're strapped together, marriage. Some people use slave and master, link. But when you have that together, it says mine is about, like I said in other videos, pushing more than a little bit over 3,000 watts. If it's at 4 ohms, because you could do 2 ohms or 3 ohms. I think 4 ohms was like 2,000 or something like that. But man, y'all tap back in with me. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll get back with y'all.